How much can one image tell about a people and the lives they live? This is a nighttime satellite image of Africa. While on the surface, it doesn't show much about the continent. The lights and empty spaces tell more than you could realize. These large clusters of bright lights are light pollution as seen from space. On the map, large cities can be identified by their bright yellow illumination and the cluster of satellite cities around them. Major highways can also be followed, especially between large cities where bright lights from cars and smaller towns can be observed. The brightest lights are, in theory, supposed to be from the biggest cities, where there are many human activities going on at night. Cairo, the biggest city on the continent, can be seen brightly lit on the Nile Delta, while the Egyptian stretch of the Nile is illuminated by the nearly 95% of the country's 120 million people who live on it. Johannesburg clearly stands out in the south, where majority of the countries around it remains patchy. However, not all cities illuminate lights in proportion to the size of the city. Kinshasa, which is significantly larger than Luanda, appears smaller on the map, and Lagos, while 4 times larger in population, appears smaller in comparison to Accra, partly because of an unstable electrical grid and partly because of its higher population density. Yet, not all lights are illumination from major cities. The southeastern part of Nigeria appears brightly lit because of the gas flares from oil and gas extraction in the area. Inasmuch as the light tell a story about a people and their activities, the darker areas tell a story too. The large empty space between the North and Sub-Sahara shows how little human activity there is within that large expanse. While there are cities in the Sahara, it remains largely unpopulated, with most of the population clustered along the coast and rivers because of the harsh living conditions in the desert. Sometimes the darker areas do not show emptiness, but the annihilation of a place and the history it once held. The historic city of Timbuktu in Mali has seen its population shrink from about 200,000 in the 16th century from the Moroccan invasion in 1591 and political instability thereafter. The conflict in Sudan can be seen with large cities like Khartoum having odd, inconsistent shapes, which is indicative of how the conflict is shaping living and migration patterns, and the shutdown of several electrical grids due to the conflict. Since the start of the conflict in 2023, light emission from the region has seen a dramatic decline. The lights can also show how colonization and boundaries drawn by colonial powers divide people who are culturally and geographically bound together. On the map, the Republic of the Congo's Brazzaville looks completely blended with the Democratic Republic of the Congo's Kinshasa. But these are different cities in different countries, which were divided along the Congo River when France took over Congo and Belgium took over the DRC, countries which are culturally and historically bound together. It is also a reminder of another legacy of colonization. Not only did it divide people who were culturally connected, it also brought together very different groups into a single country. And in places like northern Nigeria, that false coexistence can often turn violent, with ordinary people caught in the middle. The map during the day shows little about our lives, but at night it reveals how history have been shaped through decades of development, division, and conflict.